Now I just got to find the right damn clip here because I look like a.
We're
idiot.
on the show. We're live. It's happening.
Yeah, we're on. Okay, here it comes.
Go Steelers.
What's going on here?
Here's a guy who's on mute.
I know, right? I don't know why it went to mute. Anyway, welcome back. It's the SCB Steelers Podcast presented by DEK Roofing Incorporated of South Florida. And we are very proud to be part of the Variety Sports Network as well. Make sure you check them out for a lot of good college football stuff. They've got some baseball stuff going on there too. So a lot of good different podcasts, thus the name Variety. The Steelers are 2-0. I don't care how they did it. Neither should you. You take 2-0, especially when Jesus, Aaron, you coming into the show with that kind of inappropriate stuff. I mean, my God, you take the wins any way you get them, especially when you're on the road. And yes, Clete Blakeman, although I think Ian, you'll know this better than me, he might end up being second rate compared to what Alex Kemp could do this weekend.
That's true. Blakeman and Kemp are two of the most flag happy officials in the league. And I'm not talking about like Sheldon Cooper fun with flags. This is going to be another ref show this week. So congratulations to everyone who paid premium ticket price for these Steelers tickets for the home opener that are like the top level price that you'll pay all year. You get to see a referee.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
And somebody pointed that out on Sunday night that, you know, the officials got to remember we're not there to watch them. And I understand that they have a job to do. They've got to call the game. But my goodness, some of the stuff is just not necessary in my opinion.
Goodness.
You know, yeah. And welcome Ben into the show.
Speaking of not necessary.
You'll notice that Scarpino is not here. And I just want to clear up a couple of things. His absence has nothing to do with his immediate absence from last week. He was not feeling well, and we'll just leave it at that. However, he's on vacay, and there's a chance he could join us tonight. I don't know. I really told him I wanted him to enjoy his vacation, plus the fact that he did not put in the proper paperwork with the Steel City Blitz Human Resources Department, and that was way late, so he will be docked for that eventually. But welcome in everybody to the show. See all kinds of folks are in tonight. Thanks so much for being here. And Ian, I want to start out with, and I hate to be negative Nelly because the team's 2-0 and on the road wins, and you take that. You never ever don't take that. However, what's your biggest concern right now with the 2024 Pittsburgh Steelers?
The offense sucks.
Your name is not Ian. Thank you.
Oh, well, you know, it's just
when has that ever stopped him before?
It's never. You're right. It hasn't. I'll get to you, mister.
I was going to say the lack of a number 2 wide receiver, really. And I think that has a lot of other things that go with it. But, you know, in my brief watch of the All-22 this week, Pickens is the only guy getting open, and when he goes up against a guy like a Patrick Surtain, that's not even going to be all the time. There were plenty of plays where there was just nobody open. I'm like, where's Fields supposed to go with this ball?
Right.
So it's really the lack of a number 2 receiver. I think with the guys they have now on the roster, Freiermuth is probably your number 2 option in the passing game, but they've got to run some stuff to get him open and other things like that, not keeping him into block.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the lack of offensive production, I think, is probably directly tied to receivers not named George Pickens not getting open, because there were plays. There was one, I don't know if it was technically a sack or if Fields like got a yard on it, but he had a ton of time in the pocket, reset his feet multiple times where he was scanning the field trying to find guys, and just everybody was covered. And he wound up, the pocket broke down and he scrambled up the middle. I don't remember if it was a sack or like he gained a yard or something, but nevertheless, like plays like that, when you run those play action passes, and Arthur Smith loves to run them, your guys got to get open. So maybe I'll amend my answer instead of a number 2 receiver, just to say receivers not getting open, or receivers not named George Pickens not getting open.
Yeah. Ben, what is your big concern right now? And I
Fields.
know
Fields is my big concern still. I mean, he has undeniable fucking talent, but that 51-yard completion that almost was, had there not been a penalty, part of that was on Fields. He had a clean pocket. He was standing in it. He went around the tackle within arm's length of the defensive end of the rusher. That's why they called the hold, because he was close enough to the rusher that when he got that little ticky-tack grab here, they called the hold. I thought it was a BS hold, especially given the fact that Watt and Highsmith and Herbig were getting mugged all day long, and we couldn't get a holding call to save our lives.
Nope.
And I'm fine with penalties. Just call it consistently. Like the week before that, they were not calling holding at all. And I saw the Steelers get away with a couple of egregious holds.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, whatever. You know what? They're calling it the same for both teams. Fine. Yeah. But Fields doing that, running out of he's running out of a clean pocket, scrambling to his right, and gets the long completion. That was great, and it was a great throw. But scrambling out of a clean pocket is part of the reason that there was a hold. Well, follow what I'm saying?
No,
at least if you're going to do that, if you take a deeper step and get away from the edge, so that you're not putting your guy in a position where when he the thing was, he was trying to, by he I mean Jones, was trying to push him to his right to loop him around the back, and Fields ran at the edge rusher like Kenny Pickett used to fucking do, and when it drove us nuts. Okay,
to the left.
Yes. So part of that, I'm sorry, is on Fields. He's got to be more aware of this. And his pocket presence is not good. He took some sacks that you should not take on Sunday. You got to have that clock in your head and get rid of it. Fields is still, to me, a huge concern. Well, because if he was just better from a recognition standpoint, you could make use of his incredible physical talents, which are, like I said, undeniable.
So a couple of comments on that. We all remember when Ben Roethlisberger, was young and coming up and would scramble all over the place. And I can remember some of his linemen talking about, they weren't trying to criticize. They were just trying to simply say it's hard to block for a guy that bails on the pocket a lot, because you don't always know, is he going left? Is he going right? And it makes it difficult. And I think that was a perfect illustration of what you were talking about, Ben. Ben did it deep enough.
Yes. That there wasn't going to be a problem where the ref was like, well, if you hadn't been holding, he might have gotten a sack there. I'm going to throw the flag.
And the other thing regarding Fields is I was kind of surprised at the lack of running by him. Maybe what I'm trying to say is the lack of designed runs for him. I thought there would be a little bit more, because they seem to have had some in the Atlanta game and then kind of went away from it in this game. And obviously, they game plan and scheme and all that stuff, but I'm wondering if maybe that comes back this week against the Chargers. But
you would hope so. It keeps defenses honest.
Yeah.
It keeps them from blitzing and they send 3 or 4 and they try and keep him in the pocket, which, obviously gives them an advantage.
And I don't disagree. Vinny's saying lack of running is so that he doesn't get hurt. I don't disagree with that at all, because right now he goes down. You got Kyle Allen. Because if you saw any video of Russell Wilson this week, he literally looks like a little old man getting to the trying to go to the mailbox. I mean, every step is very intentional. It's just very deliberate. and he's not close as far as I'm concerned, based on what I saw this week. So I hope I'm wrong, but be that as it may, yeah, that's a fair point. They don't want him to get hurt. They don't need him to get hurt. No doubt about it. Other things offensively, I mean, I keep finding myself feeling bad for Broderick Jones, and I shouldn't. But when you watch,
I appreciate the fact that he's not trying to make any excuses, because he has
he did apologize for his comments after the game today.
Yeah,
and kind of owned up to it.
Well, yeah, kind of. He just explained them. He was like, "No,
Right.
all I meant was this. I mean, if Troy earned the right to start, he should be in there the whole game."
Yeah, and I actually thought, like, I appreciated the professionalism of Broderick Jones to actually answer questions after the game, because it would have been really easy for him to just be like, I had a bad game, I don't want to talk about it, don't ask me anything. But to sit there and answer questions, I thought showed some maturity on his part.
I totally agree.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
totally,
And I like I said, I give him props for not trying to make any excuses, just saying, literally what he said is, I played like shit. And that, this is the way it is. If you fuck up, you get pulled.
Yeah, and that's exactly what he said. And I just feel bad for him because, and look, I'm going to do shameless plug here. I had a conversation with Richmond Webb this week, and Ben, you'll definitely remember Richmond Webb, who was a great offensive tackle for the Dolphins back in the Marino heydays. And I was just asking him, I'm like, look, what is your perception of what's happening with Broderick Jones? This is a first-round pick, but yet he's not the left tackle, he's not the right tackle. They're trying to have him do both. And he was really blunt. He said, look, if you're the third tackle, that means you have to play both sides. And he said, right now, Moore's your left tackle. You got a rookie that's your right tackle. And so that's just where it is. Jones has to be able to play both. That's why they call it a swing tackle. And he said, I also, he's like, obviously I don't see him every day. I don't see the games all the time, but I guarantee you that's probably what the thinking is with Mike Tomlin. So I just do. I feel bad. I wish he had a solidified left or right, but I did like what I heard this week from him. And maybe he's kind of going to go forward now and just put forth the effort, say to hell with it. And we have to acknowledge that he's banged up too.
Yeah, one thing that is encouraging was apparently he was playing with something on his arm today that made him look less like a cyborg and more like a tackle.
Yeah.
So it's not a gigantic brace with an elbow pad on it like he's been wearing. And I don't know if it was the brace or if it's his elbow or what the deal is, but he hasn't been able to punch. And being able to punch was a tool he used last year very effectively, especially in situations where, frankly, he was losing and he won on strength and athleticism.
And Ian, right before the show, go ahead, Ian. We were talking before the show.
So I mean, the problem is Dan Moore can't play right tackle. Like, it's been documented. I think Kaboli actually had a pretty good Twitter article, whatever you want to call it, about just because of Dan Moore's physical structure of his body is better at left tackle. At any rate, so putting Broderick at right tackle when he has an injury to his right elbow really limits what he can do because of where his hand placement is.
Yep.
If Broderick's at left tackle and can use his left hand more dominantly and kind of keep his right hand back in reserve, that'd probably be better for him considering his right arm is injured, but they're putting him on the side where his injured arm gets more exposed. So not only that, I mean, there might be a little of the Sean Davis syndrome where, like, remember Sean Davis out of Maryland, defensive back, they were like, oh, he can play safety and corner, so we're going to have him do both as a rookie. And then he wasn't able to do either because he just got overwhelmed with information. And, I think I'm worried that they're doing the same thing to Broderick to be like, well, Dan Moore can't play right and Fatanu likes right better. So you're our swing guy. So you got to, as a, second year player, learn both of these instead of, picking up some scrap heap waiver wire offensive tackle that's been around the league for 6 or 7 years and be like, you're our swing tackle. You can play both. It'll be fine.
The point Mark made before about the third tackle is valid because you're only going to have 3 tackles active on game day.
Yep.
And that
Yeah.
dude has got to be able to swing. Literally,
yeah.
he's got to be able to play either spot.
Yeah.
You know?
You're
I mean,
right.
Honestly, the best thing that could happen, and I'm not wishing anything bad
Right.
on Dan Moore Jr., but the best thing that could happen for Broderick Jones right now would be for Dan Moore to either have a really bad game or get injured and then be replaced.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, Broderick played better than Moore had been playing the one game where he played left tackle last year.
Agreed.
It was just that Moore then was healthy and came back, and Tomlin was like, yeah, we're going to take you out and then pull Chooks and do this other weird stuff. Last year was weird. Anyways, the final point I have on this is Dan Moore is not playing great. He's not playing Pro Bowl level, but he's not playing terrible either. He's not playing it below replacement level.
He's
so
playing okay, right?
He's playing okay.
It's
just
fine. I'm going to use the word fine.
Yeah, fine.
No.
Right. But I think
he's not playing as badly as Spencer Anderson.
True.
I'm getting to that.
That said, Tomlin has kind of proved this over time and is continuing to prove it here. Mike Tomlin is going to play the player that is performing better right now.
Yep.
So Dan Moore playing fine means Tomlin's going to play him now in the short term, even if Broderick as a worse player right now, maybe better for his long-term development and long-term success of this team. I'm not sure I agree with that philosophy.
No.
I'm just saying that's what I'm seeing is
Right.
Tomlin says Dan Moore is playing better now, so Dan Moore is our starter regardless of if Dan Moore or Broderick is the tackle of the future. Because if you think Broderick's the tackle of the future, maybe you should just play him now and kind of take your lumps and let it happen. But
Pat Meyer makes the calls on who's gonna start. I mean, Tomlin can overrule him, obviously.
Sure.
But Pat Meyer's making those calls. And I agree, I'm with you. I don't agree with what they're doing, but I understand it. I just don't
it is a weird,
They want to win now, so they're making the decisions that are for winning now rather than building the team for later.
But I'm sorry, this is not a contending team. We're not beating the Chiefs this season. That's not happening. We're not competing with the Chiefs this year. That's not happening either. I mean, and from the looks of things, we may not be competing with the Bengals based upon that week, the game last week. And I was surprised. I thought the Chiefs were going to kick the living shit out of them. And they needed a defensive score to win the damn game.
Yeah.
And you know what we haven't talked about since we talked about it briefly a moment ago. How about Chooks quitting in New England? How about Chooks quitting in New England because he got benched?
If you didn't
not
see
coming
that,
to work anymore.
Yeah, Chooks Okorafor, who was with the Steelers for the bulk of his career until this year, he just kind of decided I've had enough, and that was it.
I'm like, dude, you're making millions of dollars a year to play a game that everyone would love to play. I mean, it wasn't a huge contract he got from them. I think it was $4 million, something like that.
Well,
it wasn't huge,
right.
But dude, $4 million for a year? Shit, sign me up.
Well, I don't know what's going on in that guy's head. Clearly he had some frustrations last year too.
But
when
just
he was
to
here.
up and quit.
I know,
okay, dude. Be a quitter. Bye.
Just real quick, a couple people in the chat talking about the fact that you don't draft a tackle in the first to be a swing tackle. No, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. You don't. And that's why this is frustrating, not just for fans, but clearly for Broderick. But just a couple of perspective things here. Remember, he only had about 17, 18 starts at Georgia. We all know the athleticism was there, but there was still a lot of technique stuff that needed to be taught. And I have to believe they're just not as happy with that progression, as maybe the rest of us think he should be. I don't know. But I definitely agree. You can draft a guy in the first round, you're going to play him. So I'll leave it at that.
We should talk about real quickly since we're talking about the offense.
Yes.
Who are the guys that have progressed this year?
Regressed or progressed?
Washington. Progressed.
Progressed.
Darnell Washington.
I will say this real quick, and then I'll let Ian answer. when I saw him split out, and again, it was like when you're playing football with the neighborhood kids, you're the grown adult and they're all the little kids. That's what the matchup looked like. Okay.
Yeah. He's
And
got
my
a 5'10" safety on him.
Yes.
And 6'7" and change.
My first thought was, oh my God, this is a jump ball in the corner. That's all this is. And then they throw the back shoulder. And when he first threw it, I thought, oh, there's no way Washington's getting that. And he did. It was a perfect play. They did it perfectly. Great job by both of them. Very happy for Darnell Washington.
I think that's the only ball we've thrown into the end zone this year.
Yeah,
you're correct.
Yeah.
I think, Ian.
Yeah,
that's
That's
correct.
not good.
And
No.
the other thing is, Fautano looked pretty good on Sunday, and Zach Frazier, as far as I'm concerned, right now is rookie of the year. The Steelers. I mean, my God, that kid.
Not just of the Steelers.
Holy
He might be rookie of the
shit.
year in the
He
league.
is.
At least for the AFC, my God.
Did you ever think you'd enjoy watching a center?
Yes.
He is so
Yes.
fun. He's so
Remember when
fun to watch because he
Pouncey
goes
got
through the. Oh,
Pouncey got drafted, and he'd pull and lead.
Well,
I was just like, oh my God, we got a center who can do that. And this kid, holy shit, he just keeps knocking people over. I'm just like, oh my God.
That's what I mean.
He needs to work a little bit on his pass protection. Okay, to be fair.
And I think we knew that. That was going to be his
his run blocking and getting him out on the second level or on the move. Oh my God, that kid! Holy shit! Great draft pick. Great draft pick.
Just incredible. So fun to watch because he's one of those guys I like to call a pile clearer. Yeah. If you're standing around the pile, he's going to clear you out. So don't stand around the pile because he's coming.
And he's got that wrestler mentality where like, he's just looking for violence. Like he just wants it. And it's awesome.
It's fantastic.
It is so fun to watch.
So, I mean, I wanted to throw something positive in there because we were talking about how we were concerned. We're 2-0. We should try and throw out the positives. I mean, Fields has been physically very impressive. I still would like them to open up the playbook a little bit and see what else he can do so we can see what he can really do. This conservative play calling is driving me a little bit nuts. But
it is.
Yeah, it's encouraging at least. Let's give him some props for that. I'm not sure that they're and like I said, those sacks on Sunday were inexcusable. He can't do that. Agreed. And things like running really close to the edge. You're setting your guy up to get a holding penalty, dude. You can't do that. You got to give him more room than that. Shit like that, he's got to clean up. But yeah, it's been encouraging. And George Pickens is George Pickens. I mean, shit, that dude. And Naj is running like a fucking madman right now.
Well, you talked about the positive of it. I think if we go back to July when camp started, if you said, "Hey, we're going to win those first 2 road games," and we would take that. And we wouldn't question how. We would just take it. And it's been ugly. It's been kind of a slow death at times.
Yeah, but, like Tomlin says, though, it's more fun to learn lessons while you're winning than learn them while you're losing.
Absolutely. And good point by Bozic here. Protecting the ball.
Yeah.
No turnovers. That's huge.
That is, and they've definitely, I actually think even though the numbers aren't there, this might be the best Justin Fields has played in his career as far as making good decisions with the football.
I think you're right. Knock on wood.
Yeah. So we'll see. The other thing I'll mention too is that not only are we 2-0, but this is just the third time in Mike Tomlin's tenure we've started 2-0 on the road. The only other times we started 2-0 on the road, or like won our first 2 road games, I guess I should say. The only other times we've won our first 2 road games were in 2010 when Ben was suspended, and in 2020 the Ben comeback year. But other than that, this is the first time we've won our first 2 road games. That said, I think especially the offense, got absolutely gassed in the second half. Like you could tell the altitude caught up with them in the second half of that game. Everyone coming off the field was looking for oxygen. And the offense did enough to limit the amount of exposure the defense had to have, that the offense sustained some drives, picked up some third downs, especially in the first half. We still won the time of possession, but it was, it was closer, and you could tell the whole team really ran out of gas in the second half. It was just, they were definitely holding on for dear life.
Kind of like if there was a fifth quarter, it might have been lights out for us. Because we would have been so gassed.
But they did enough, and you've got the offensive line in Denver that's frankly not very good.
No.
And the young quarterback and we did enough. We did enough on Sunday to win. And it can't be understated. Denver's a really hard place to win.
It is.
And
altitude, crowd.
Yeah. Only giving up 3 points was huge on Sunday. I would have preferred a shutout. That would have been really cool, but
we gave up 6.
I'm sorry. Yeah, right.
13-6. 13-6. Yeah, to the point in the chat about, what does Fields do when he's behind? Well, we're going to find out eventually. Yeah. I mean, that's going to happen.
At that point, they'll have to open up the playbook a little bit, won't they?
Yes. Yeah. It's going to have to happen. And
I'm sitting there thinking to myself, watching the game on Sunday, when we got the 10-point lead and it was early, I'm like, okay, well, now we're going to play conservative because we need to. We need to control the clock. We need to play slow. We need to control the tempo so that our defense doesn't get gassed and allow these guys to come back.
I still don't think they're 100% set on Warren. He definitely got more touches, obviously, than he did the first week, but it just feels like they're still working him back a little bit. You guys?
I got that feeling too. And by the way, somebody mentioned this in the chat. Cordero Patterson sucks. Like, I think he got 4 snaps, touched the ball all 4 times, and got 2 total yards.
Dude is averaging 2.7 yards per carry this season.
He is straight line.
He's doing nothing. I'm like, I keep hoping that he's going to help out in the passing game, because I know he can. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe they'll split him out wide and he'll help out there, because as a running back, he is fucking worthless.
Yeah, I think people got excited because
he is old. Rattel's right. Dude is old.
Yeah.
So to Claude's point over in the chat, I'm not sure if Arthur Smith is Matt Canada 2.0.
No, he's not.
But Bo Nix is definitely Kenny Pickett 2.0 because the Broncos had open guys running through the secondary, and he was like, I'm just going to check it down for 5 yards.
But
Bo Nix is like 28 years old.
I'll give Nix this. Okay, he did play 6 years in college, yes.
Right, he's like 42.
Nix talked about how bad he was after the game with the media. He was just like, yep, I sucked. That was terrible. They asked him to talk about the interception he threw to the end zone. He's like, oh, yeah, drop back, threw it to the other team.
Yeah. He was very nonchalant about it.
That's what you did. That's right.
Speaking of the defense, I was really surprised by this. I shouldn't have been. We are blitzing only on 13% of plays right now.
Why blitz more?
Well, no, it's just I think so many fans still.
If you're getting pressure with 4 and you're winning and you're ahead, why blitz?
No, Ben, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just looking at it from the perspective of this is Blitzburgh. That's what we always do. It didn't matter if we were ahead, behind, tied. We kept bringing everybody, and you're exactly right. And I think that's why it is so low. If you can bring pressure with 4 and get it there, then you don't need to change it up.
It's not going to stay like that. It's not going to be like that all season. Through the first 2 games, we've played a couple of offenses that, frankly, weren't doing much, and we were getting enough pressure with 4 guys, sometimes 3 guys.
Yeah,
that it just didn't make any sense to go ahead and pull another guy when you can have 7 behind and 4 in the front rushing. I mean, shit, where's the guy going to put it? Where's Bo Nix going to put it?
Exactly.
When you got 7 guys in coverage. And I don't know if you noticed it, but it was spot coverage. So they were running to a spot and stopping and waiting and running cover 2 behind it. And it was like, fuck, man, I don't know where this kid's even going to throw. It's 3 deep shell right now.
Now, are you referring to the cover 2 that Mel Kiper wants to see banned from the NFL?
Yeah, I thought that was hilarious. Yeah, I want to see more scoring. So let's ban cover 2. You know what they're going to do, shithead? They're going to disguise it, and then they're going to make it cover 2 after the snap. What fucking difference does it make?
Right. I mean, it was just like the most asinine statement, and people have just gone crazy with it, and I'm here for it.
Apparently, Mel Kiper now is one of the olds.
Oh, he's shit. I mean, he was doing draft coverage when you and I were teenagers.
I'm going to try to avoid that as long as I possibly can, but eventually it'll happen.
Defensively, though, I think Cam Hayward is playing pretty well. I don't think he's spectacular, but I think he's obviously, as we said, there's a pitch count there, but he's doing very well. Watt is Watt. I thought they did a fairly decent job.
I agree with SC. Fields is worth all of $10 million a year for 5 years. I think that's a great idea.
I don't know about
5.
50 mil total for 5 years.
Yes.
I agree.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I would endorse that. Of course, they will never get him to sign that contract, but cool.
It's funny. I was looking at our preseason predictions here, and the second one was Justin Fields starts at over under 6, and so we're looking at 3 coming up.
Wait a minute. What do we all have? Who?
Well, over under on that, we all, let's see. Ryan was the only one with the over. Yeah.
Well, Ryan's going to win.
I tend to think so, the way things are going. Yeah, for sure.
Shut up, Aaron. It's only because you're a homer.
I wonder if Aaron wears like his Fields jersey underneath his Steelers jersey. And when I say Fields jersey, I mean the one from Ohio State.
He definitely wears his fucking Buckeyes something under his.
Oh, for sure.
Steelers
Absolutely.
jersey.
Absolutely.
100%.
Are you guys at all concerned that I don't, and granted, we really haven't needed it. They don't really seem to have a true slot corner yet. Ian, are you?
I think they have a whole bunch of slot corners.
My bigger concern is what happens if one of the top 2 go down and get hurt. Corey Trice has played pretty well in the limited snaps that he's had.
Yep.
But I don't know if he's ready to step in like as a full-time starter, but it's we're thin at cornerback, but pretty deep at safety, and been able to do some things. And actually our corners have played pretty well this year. I mean, Jackson's got an interception, Trice got a pick this week. So it's they're coming along. There's progress being made there. I don't care at all about how PFF graded Joey Porter Jr. I think he's playing just fine.
85th out of 98.
Yeah, whatever it is.
PFF graded Joey Porter 85th out of 98.
Just look at the numbers of the receivers he's covering, and that tells you what you need to know.
It isn't. Look, the dude is covering the number 1 wide receiver from the other team every week. He's been thrown out 5 times through 2 games. He's given up 3 receptions for 25 yards.
Yeah, exactly.
28, something like that.
And not only that.
And you're grading him 85th out of 98 corners. And then you people wonder why I think PFF is a fucking joke.
Seconded.
Thirded. The other thing, too, they're doing with Porter is he's traveling. He's not they're not sticking their corners in. You're the right corner, you're the left corner. Whoever comes to your side, cover them. They're putting Porter on the number 1 receiver, and wherever that guy goes, he's going with them, which maybe finally means if a team moves a number 1 receiver into the slot, we won't actually have a linebacker covering them, that Joey Porter will cover them. So
it doesn't just benefit Porter, in my opinion. It also benefits Dante Jackson, because that means he's covering the same guy for most of the game as well.
True.
And he's
True.
learning how that guy moves and what he does and what his tendencies are over the course of the game. And it gives him an opportunity to jump routes, which the dude is doing. And he's getting deflections. He's getting picks. He's playing really pretty fucking well. And he's making this trade look pretty okay, I got to say. I mean, I know
so far so good.
They didn't replace DJ. We talked about this before the season. That's a failure. They didn't replace him. But the trade, I got to say, they got pretty good value given the fact that Dante Jackson is playing pretty well, and they got him to take a reduced number on his contract after the fact. And it's, I mean, if he keeps this up all season, and he seems like he's bought in, he loves the team, he loves the culture, he loves Coach T, blah, blah, blah.
Well, getting out of Carolina, anyone would love the culture.
I mean, can you imagine?
They're going to re-sign him. I'm just saying, the guy's coming back.
Based on the first 2 games, there's no doubt about it.
Oh, yeah. If he stays healthy, I would absolutely bring him back.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And Corey Trice being in there, too, that's really encouraging. I mean, there are a lot of good things going on back there. And I still like Beanie. I do. He's not great, but he's a good slot corner on first and second down. And later on, when the season gets harder, we'll have Cam Sutton. He comes back and he can play on passing downs.
True.
Bishop he's missed some tackles, but then he's made some really nice open field tackles. You know, so I think he's learning. I mean, he's a
rookie shit.
Yeah. I'm not like discouraged with him at all. And Ian, you made the point about, Porter traveling and if a guy goes in the slot, and I think it was Vinny that said he had watched the 2018 Chargers game. Isn't that the one where Keenan Allen basically had 400 yards receiving out of the slot against
it
wasn't that much, but it was about 200.
Oh my God. It was
seriously, it was over 150. It was
I know.
That was Keenan Allen on what, LJ Fort that game?
LJ Fort. No, it was Vince and LJ and oh my God. It was fucking awful. It was like, please stop this.
Yeah. Yeah. It was madness.
Butler.
Madness.
What the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
God. So to Ben's question earlier about, who do you think has progressed on offense? I've been very impressed with, in a limited snap count, what Herbig has done on defense. He's coming along very well, I think.
Yep,
and
agreed.
Also, Peyton Wilson is a lot better than I thought he was going to be.
Right?
Yes. I thought there was going to be some kind of learning curve there. He has stepped right in. I
wish he would take on blocks, but I so agree with you, Ian.
Yeah.
I wish he would take on blocks a little better, but in coverage, he's great. Running to the ball, he's great. Anticipating where the ball is going to be, he's been great. He's really exceeded my expectations. I'm really happy. I hope he stays healthy.
I'm going to assume, Ben, that when he played at North Carolina State, he didn't have to do a whole lot of stacking and shedding. Because of his speed, because of his smarts, because of the talent he's playing against. I think that's going to come for him because obviously he's not afraid to be on the football field. It's not a matter of not being physical enough or anything like that. I think it's just a matter of doing it, learning it, getting better at it. But yeah, he's been super impressive. Any chance could get Adam Thielen, Cecil says. I don't think they're going to go that route. I think they're going to give Roman Wilson a chance first.
Which is dumb because he's a slot wide receiver. It's
I agree with you, Ben.
How many slot receivers do we have? Do we have 3 or 4 slot receivers?
12.
We have 4,
Wilson
right?
is going to get open.
No, wait a minute.
But
they cut what's his name? They put him on injured reserve. Scarana Rowe or whatever the fuck his name was.
Ben Skoranek. Yep. They activated him.
They activated him for a whole day and then put him on injured reserve.
They actually made a nice play on special teams.
They tried to throw him that one pass too.
Yeah.
He was a nice special teams player, I think. But
the one that worries me is Matakevich going down.
Yeah, that sucks to the teams. It does bad. And Skoranek too. I mean, those are 2 special teamers that were playing well on teams. And I don't know what happened to Skoranek, but hopefully he comes back soon enough because
Right.
when you need those teams, guys. But
They did sign James Pierre,
the overview
Gunner.
point of all of this crop is you got 2 outside receivers and that's it. And the rest of your receivers are all slot guys.
Yeah. We've been, they are.
I mean,
and we talked about
you're
it.
not going to put Rowan
summer.
Wilson at the X. That he's not going to beat anybody in press. That's not happening.
No, he is a slot guy. He was built and he's made to be in the slot. He's going to get open. He's a great route runner.
And he's willing to block and do the dirty work. And I respect that, but he's not a big guy. And if he goes up against a 215-pound, 6'1" corner, he's not beating the press.
Agreed. And Cecil, I think anybody wants out of Carolina right now.
Right.
You're absolutely right, man. Absolutely right. Well, yeah. See,
David Tepper should sell the team.
Oh man, I'm telling you, it's just I hate seeing NFL franchises just go in the shitter unless of course it's like Cleveland. But
that was pretty satisfying. Not gonna lie.
It kind of was.
It was kind of cool because I mean, for a long time you looked at our schedule and you got Cleveland and Cincinnati away games, and you're like, okay, that's 2 extra home games.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what else do we have?
Mm-hmm.
Especially if they're late season games, because at that point their fans had given up. So Steelers would buy the cheap tickets and travel to Ohio and fill the stadium. Oh my God, that was fun.
That could be that way this year.
It could be,
with all the late division games. I mean, you could see a situation like that.
I hope so.
What did you guys think of the move to give Ian? I'll ask you this first: to give Russell Wilson a game ball on Sunday. What'd you think of that move?
Hilarious and not a big deal at all. Like it's just funny as shit.
That's the way I took it too.
I just thought it was kind of corny.
Corny.
I was just like, okay. I didn't think it was like funny, like hilarious or anything. I was just like, okay, well, this is the thing. They're showing him respect because he's a, 15-year vet or whatever the fuck he is now.
Yep.
And, he was there before and they won and, he was involved in the game planning and, whatever else.
Right.
He probably gave them some intel on Peyton and, I mean, shit, God bless him.
Yeah.
Tomlin didn't want to talk about it.
No, we got another great Tomlin quote out of it though.
Yeah, we did. The hot dog quote.
Yep.
And it's all good. Whatever. I said, I thought it was corny.
I agree. I think corny's a good word. I don't think it needed the Mad Dog Russos of the world getting so upset that he had to scream into a camera apparently on ESPN about it.
That's pretty fucking stupid.
I mean, no shit. You don't have anything else to go off about a guy getting a game ball. I mean,
yeah, no, but I mean, those guys are modern day shock jocks. So
it's just awful.
Dan can tell you about that if he's still on the show. I don't know.
I'm sure he could. Yeah,
he's not typing anymore, but he can give me an opinion on a shock jock.
Corliss Waitman, pretty good job filling in.
I actually did want to talk about this.
Ben.
Yeah, I agree. Go ahead, Ian. Go off.
Go ahead,
no,
Ian.
I didn't think he did a great job or not at all.
Okay.
No, Waitman is what we thought he was last year, which is he can boom the shit out of the ball, but he has no finesse and no touch. Right. I actually thought he did a decent job trying to angle the ball a little bit rather than just kicking it straight. But in the thin air of Denver, he just crushed that sucker.
Yeah.
It is what it is. He can just, it's all gas, no finesse, right? It's all
yeah.
Professional kickers, professional punters can do that Australian roll thing where the ball bounces back toward you as opposed to going in the direction it was being kicked, right?
Yeah, like hitting a wedge shot. You can
it drops and it comes back this way a little bit, right?
Right.
Which is kind of the point. He can't do it, which is why he hasn't made teams to this point. And if he doesn't learn to do it this season, he probably won't make a team next year. So hopefully he works on that. and doesn't kick more balls in the end zone.
Did we ever get
That said, counterpoint to that.
Go ahead.
After Shankopotamus the last few years, I am totally fine with a kicker that just booms the shit out of the ball. Like, if it goes in the end zone, it goes in the end zone. Yeah, you'd like to pin a team back deep. Yeah, there's advantages to that.
This is a fair argument.
But
yeah.
he kicked a ball. There was a couple times, it was in the second half, we were backed up. He probably kicked it from his own 5-10 yard line.
Yeah.
And kicked it 65 to 70 yards in the air. Granted, thin air of Denver.
Yep.
But when you can kick a ball that far, I mean, that alone flips the field. So, I'd rather have a guy that's going to get more touchbacks and less inside the 20s than a guy who's going to shank one when you're deep in your own zone,
Yes.
territory, and give the other team the ball at the 50 like Presley Harvin was doing.
Right.
So if I had to pick,
no, I'm with you there.
If I had to pick,
fair.
I'd take what Waitman's doing
fair.
over. What
Yeah,
Harvin was
give
doing.
him the ball at the 20 rather than giving him the ball at the 47.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I agree with you. And
Yeah.
I mean, some of those punts, I think he had one that was 29 yards.
Did we ever hear
God.
what Cam Johnston's actual injury was?
No, I tried to find out, but I think it might be his ACL.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there was any doubt it was a pretty significant knee injury. I just didn't hear. Nobody said exactly what it was, because I think we all, when we saw it in slow motion, it was like, yeah, that's not good.
I still don't understand why they didn't flag it. I don't get it.
That was a bizarre play to me.
If the dude kicks the ball, you stop running at him.
Yeah.
And yes, I agreed with the holding call. I thought that was fine.
Yeah,
but he didn't throw him into the kicker.
No, I don't want to rehash that from a week ago, but I agree with you. It was a weird thing. Chargers coming in this week. I think this is a
Mark's favorite coach, Coach Kaki.
Fucking Harbaugh's
loves him.
Yeah, see, now allow me to go on a rant for a moment.
Mark, did you celebrate when Michigan won the national title?
Celebrate? No, I still do not have anything that says Michigan national champions on it, nor will I.
Do you have anything that says University of Michigan on it?
In fact, I do not anymore. No.
Oh,
no, I do not. Haven't.
You don't have any? Is it blue and maize or what? What colors do they declare themselves?
It's maize.
You don't have any of that shit.
I do not. And I said this when they hired him.
Aaron does. Aaron loves the blue and the maize.
He will bring them back to prominence, but they'll pay a price for it, and they're paying a price for it already. And so no, I've never been a Harbaugh fan. The only time I ever rooted for Jim Harbaugh is when he was the quarterback of Michigan back in the mid '80s. That's about it.
Why?
By that time, well, because I didn't know what
then too.
Yeah, but I didn't know that then. I learned that later. But however,
so his team Tom Brady, you probably rooted for him too. What the fuck's wrong with you?
I rooted for Tom Brady when he was at Michigan.
Exactly.
But not any further.
He was already a douchebag at Michigan.
I mean, let's face it. If you're the quarterback at a major, power, you're probably a douchebag to an extent. Look, the Chargers, I think, pose a really good challenge for this team. They have a very good defense. They're number one defense, and I know that includes having played Carolina. Okay, that is important to note.
Yes.
Important to note. However, I think the matchups on the edges are really good. They got the rookie Alt, and then they've got the kid Slater, I think, on the other side.
Yeah.
So I
really
think
good
that's going to be. Yeah, that's going to be a good challenge.
I mean, here is the thing that works to our advantage. Okay.
Yeah.
We got 3 guys right now in the inside that are playing really well. Really fucking well.
Yes.
Cam Hayward, Larry O, and Keanu Benton are playing really fucking well in the interior right now.
Yeah.
Especially Cam. Cam apparently bookmarked all the tweets about people saying that he sucked and didn't deserve an extension, and he's like out to prove people wrong.
Whatever
maybe
motivates you,
maybe
I
not,
go for it.
But he definitely took notice.
Whatever motivates you, man. I don't care what it is. If that's what it takes him to play well, awesome. I think they definitely have a nice rotation going where he gets, a little bit, as we said, a bit of a pitch count.
30, 40 snaps a game. I'm fine with that. I don't know about you guys.
I am too. And I thought DeMarvin Leal played okay. I appreciate he always hustles. I mean, believe me, there's times when he gets defeated at the line scrimmage. It happens. But he's been okay. But yeah, you're right. Him and Ogunjobi and Benton have been really, really impressive so far. And I think this game next week, man, or on Sunday, is going to be just a complete trench warfare type game.
Yes, this game is like the Spider-Man pointing meme where two teams that are so very similar are pointing at each other. I mean, you've got both of these teams used high draft picks on offensive tackles the last couple years. That you've got Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater for the Chargers. The Chargers have a better quarterback in Justin Herbert, but their wide receivers are Quentin Johnson, Josh Palmer, and DJ Chark. I mean,
and Justin Herbert is injured right now. He's got a bad ankle foot thing going on right now, so his mobility is going to be limited.
Right. They've got two former Ravens who are often injured at running back, and Dobbins and Edwards, who
Dobbins is
fucking good very well.
Dude. Dobbins is really
is
good.
Scary right now.
Yes, Dobbins is great when he's healthy, but it's just that when he's healthy portion, and he's healthy right now, but when he's healthy. And then you've got both teams have really good edge rushers. You know, we've got Highsmith and Watt. They've got Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa. So there's that. They've got Asante Samuel and Derwin James in the secondary. We've got Minka in the secondary, and I guess JPJ. JPJ is playing good, but he's not like quite Asante Samuel Jr. But nevertheless, both of these teams are very similar to each other. I think if Herbert was fully healthy, I would say that the Chargers are better. But if Herbert is injured and can't run and is basically reduced to being a pocket passer, then that levels the playing field a lot in this
Helps
game.
us.
And Vinny's right. Minka is better than Derwin. I think they're different players, though. I think Derwin's more of a strong safety. Minka's more of a free. But nevertheless,
Agreed.
Derwin's a very good player, too.
Derwin was the best safety in football for a while, but he's not anymore. He's aged a little bit. That's all.
He has, but man, he was something coming out of Florida State. Man, he was, and he had those first couple of years. He had the injuries. I think this game is just going to come down to who makes mistakes and who doesn't, who can execute.
I'm betting on Harbaugh because he likes to fuck up in Pittsburgh.
Well, I mean, the trends in this game are really interesting. We've beaten the Chargers 14 out of 16 times in Pittsburgh overall. Of course,
I think I was at both of the ones we lost.
1994 AFC Championship game.
94 AFC Championship
worst loss of my life. I still have
I still had PTSD from that one.
Yes,
and I'm sorry, people who don't understand that. I don't know how to fuck to explain it to you.
No.
The Steelers were dominant that year, especially coming into the playoffs.
Yep.
And we expected to blow those fuckers out. And to see the team play that poorly, man, it sucked.
I can't even imagine.
Fucking sucked.
Yep.
Didn't we beat them
Alfred
like 35-7?
We had beaten them in the earlier in the regular season. It just oh god.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't even Dan Fouts, it was Stan Humphries.
Stan freaking Humphries.
Yep. Stan Humphries and Alfred Pupunu.
Yeah, there was a pass interference penalty in that game too. Fuck.
Yeah, I know.
And then the other one was
you and me both, Vuk. Yep.
Yeah. Alfred Pupunu and Francisco Cabrera and
Dennis Gibson was the linebacker that knocked
Steelers
away the ball.
Corner. Yeah. Who the fuck? Why can't I remember his name right now, Ian?
Which one?
Steelers corner. who kept
Dwayne
fucking up in
Figures?
that game. I'm sorry?
Dion Figures?
No, in that game, who kept screwing up? God damn it.
No, that was before Dwayne Washington and Chad Scott.
Yeah.
No, that was.
See, I would have thought Figures too.
Was it Dion Figures that kicked the guy in the head in the Chiefs game and got ejected? It was a playoff game in the early '93, I think.
That was
was
rookie
when-
years.
That was when
rookie year.
Montana was the Chiefs quarterback. that
Yes,
year.
I think you're right.
Oh shoot. No, I was trying to remember what year it was that we lost to the Chargers at home, because it was a late season game that we needed to win. No. It was Ben's first game back after an injury. Was it like 2011 or 2012, somewhere in there? It was like middle. It was Tomlin's tenure during Ben's career, but kind of like middle of Ben's career. That there was. I remember it was a late season game. We needed to beat the Chargers. They were coming here.
Tim McKyer.
Yeah, I just landed on it here.
Tim McKyer.
Yeah. Woodson had a
worst
pick in
game
that
of his career. AFC Championship game. Worst game of his entire career. It was painfully fucking bad. I mean, the guy just kept fucking up over and over and over again. Like he was walking 20 yards down the field to avoid having to talk to Cowher. It was that bad a game for him.
Man, it was. I looked it up. It was the 2012 Steelers.
Yeah,
it was because they lost 34-24 to San Diego, and they had just beaten Baltimore. That was the Charlie Batch game when they beat Baltimore on the road. And they came back, and Ben came back from injury, and they were at 7-5 and needed to win to kind of stay in the playoff hunt. And then they lost to the Chargers. Then they went and lost at Dallas. And then they lost to Cincy, and fell out of the playoff race. Yeah. So
fucking Chargers.
Yeah, that was a game. That was the game that I realized Mike Wallace had no future here, because Mike Wallace dropped a pass at the end of the second quarter that if he had caught it, he may not have had a touchdown, but he was like at the 10-yard line, and it was a deep ball to him, and the ball was over his head, and he was running to get it, and he stepped left and then had to come back to the right and get it. And I was like, how in the crap did he make that wrong move? And then he dropped the ball on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then he put up a ton of yards in the second half when we were down by like 21 points, and it didn't matter. But like in that moment where he dropped that ball, if we had scored there, we might have only been down by 7, or might have been tied at halftime.
I hate to admit this. While you're talking Mike Wallace, it made me think of the guy that we kept in place of him.
Yes.
AB has had some pretty funny fucking tweets the last couple days.
Stop.
I have to admit.
Now stop.
I'm sorry.
That's not AB tweeting. That's someone else he hired to run his social media for him.
You may well be right, but
I am 100% right.
Yeah.
Because they are writing tweets in complete sentences.
This is true.
All right.
The spelling is well done. Yeah.
This is not
okay.
Do not give AB props for anything. He's an
then
idiot.
Let me rephrase. Whoever's running his account is doing a whale of a job. Yeah.
Fine.
Whale of a job. Yeah, no doubt about it.
Right. Okay, so
Mike Wallace back to
I just looked it up.
Mike could only run 2 routes.
Yeah.
A 9 and a 7. That was it. He could run an out. Maybe, but it had to be like an 18-yard out. But other than that, it was a go route and a post, and that was
pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you know what? He could run a nice drag, if you will.
He could
every once in a while. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. He could run a drag every.
He
once
could
in a while.
run a drag,
True.
but he couldn't turn. It was like
Right.
steering the
Exactly.
Titanic.
Exactly. It was like he had to throw it early.
There was plays where they hit him on a drag route,
Yep.
and he would run past the first zone defender and run straight into the second zone defender because he couldn't turn.
One time I remember him actually being able to make the turn. I think it was against the Giants.
Yes.
It
was against the Giants. He made the turn.
Yeah.
How the fuck do you remember this shit?
I don't know.
I remember that play.
Ian's got the brain. My brain is stuck back in the 70s, 80s stuff.
Yeah.
Ian's still pissed off at the officials from 1997.
As well he should be.
I'm pissed off at every official ever. What do you mean?
As well,
it's not going to be any better this week.
Hey,
it's going to be.
You know what? I was really pissed off at the officials this last weekend. Am I not going to remember their names or what crew was? No, I'm not. I'm going to go. The officiating fucking sucked.
Ian will
that was bullshit. Call it both ways, like we talked about before. Call it both ways. I'm fine with penalties. Fine. Penalties are penalties.
Yes.
Sometimes they get called. Sometimes they don't. It's the NFL. But call it consistent. Call it both ways. Call it on both teams. That's all I'm saying.
And who the hell names who names their kid Cleat?
They're right.
I'd like to know that too.
Maybe that's a nickname. I hope.
If it is, I don't know.
That fucking that crew sucks donkey balls.
My dad texted me during the game that Cleet Blakeman wasn't qualified to ref a midget football game. So I come by it honestly, really,
Oh my God.
Yeah, you do. You do.
The fantastic part about your dad is there are lots of Ian's dad's quotes that you really should tweet them.
I really should.
You really should. You should tweet those like during the course of the game.
Shit my dad says during Steelers
Shit my
games.
dad's. There we go. Shit my dad says during Steelers games.
Speaking of that, my favorite text from my dad was, he said something to the extent of, if your life depended on Baker Mayfield getting a touchdown, you better call a coroner and get last rites.
Hey, you know what?
Baker's playing good this year.
Baker's playing good football this year. He really is.
Good for him.
It isn't just that. I mean, the thing that's great about it is it makes Browns fans really sad.
Oh my God. True. It's hilarious, isn't it?
Yeah, Baker's a lot easier to root for now that he's in Tampa.
Amen.
Well, no, it's not just that. Like I said, he's much easier to root for because it makes Browns fans sad. It's like, the enemy of my enemy.
And,
all right.
And he beat the Lions, which calms these people down a little bit around here. So I'm
sure. Baker's playing well, and so is Derek Carr. He's playing scary well. There's a theory that Derek Carr only plays well in election years.
Oh my God.
Going around right now. But if you look at the history, it's true.
Is it really?
Yes.
Well, there was 1 year he was like in the top 3 or 4 for the MVP, wasn't it?
Yeah. I don't get it.
Ian, are you going to the game Sunday?
I am not. No, we sold our tickets.
Sold those tickets?
Yeah.
Okay. So we can yell at you for all the blue and yellow that will be in the stands.
Yeah.
The Chargers have fans? I don't know.
Well, there are a few. Most of them are still in San
Diego.
Diego.
Fans are fucking rabid. Have you guys seen all of the fights in the California stadiums?
Well, they get in fights with Raiders fans. It's Raiders.
No, dude. It doesn't matter who they play. There are fights, and I'm not saying this is exclusive to the LA stadium.
Right.
There are fights in the LA stadium. There are fights in the San Francisco stadium. There are fights every goddamn weekend in those stadiums, and I don't get it. I mean, serious fights where people are hospitalized every weekend. I don't understand it.
Oh, look, you have an offer there, Ian.
I've only asked him twice, Dan.
I think I'm not sure if we're using those or not. I'll look into the Jets.
Just want to go to see Dr. Ayahuasca.
Yes.
Well, Dan he's up for it, and he's sat in those seats before. So.
Let's do some predictions for this weekend's game. The Chargers come in. They will not have the disadvantage of being a West Coast team because they have stayed. They have stayed. Oh God, it's like 36.
Let's say it should be like 25.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah, it's in the mid 30s. They stayed on the East Coast after beating Carolina, so that whole West Coast thing's not going to matter.
That bothers me.
Yeah, I think it's good strategery personally. But
Shut up, Mark.
Yeah,
You're right,
I know? Ian, what do you got for this weekend? What do you think's going to happen between the Bolts and the Men of Steel?
Oh, you're coming to me first. I was trying to look up what the over-under was because Ben asked.
I thought I had it I thought I saw 36, 34, 36. People were making fun of it because it was so bad.
Okay. It's going to be ugly. Their defense is pretty good. Our defense is pretty good, especially if Herbert can't move. I think at the end of the day, though, Herbert's a better quarterback than Fields, and I think that catches up with us. So I'm going to go, plus Dobbins is running really well. I'm going to go Chargers 17, Steelers 13.
Okay, I think that's our first non-Steelers selection since did Scarps go with the Falcons week 1?
No, I don't think so.
No, I thought he did.
No, he went to Falcons week 1.
All right. Ben, what do you got for this week?
The over-under is 35.5. Which is low for an NFL
I went
game.
under.
Yeah, I would go under. I tend to agree with Ian. Dobbins is playing really well. Now, maybe he'll get hurt because the dude has a tendency to get hurt. And if he does get hurt,
for it.
that kind of, he is their whole offense right now because Herbert is basically putting up the same stats that Fields is, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, that was scary.
Herbert is really fucking talented. To not utilize him at all and just go, whatever, we can utilize him later. It's fine. Is a little odd, but whatever. So it's gonna be another fucking grinded out rock fight game. I tend to agree with Ian though. I'm gonna go Chargers 16, Steelers 13.
Oh God. Okay. All right. I've gone with the Chargers all week long. The more I thought about it, I was Chargers, but since you two have gone both Chargers,
I hate you. Good. Go the other way.
I'm gonna go Steelers 16-14 over the Chargers.
I hope you're right.
Yeah.
I do too.
That would be the ultimate give up 2 touchdowns, but win it ugly. Yeah.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah, one TD and 3 field goals.
Zero Fields interceptions, Dan, but there'll be a fumble.
I would agree with that, Ben. I think that's coming sooner or later. Before we get out of here, I do want to ask you guys one more question. Who is more likely 0-3 after week 3, the Ravens or the Bengals?
Bungles.
Bungles will host the Commanders Monday night, while the Ravens are in Dallas for the prime 4:30 game on Sunday.
I'm going to go Ratbirds because I never like picking teams that play on the road. Which is also why I'm 0-2 in my survivor polls this year. But let's ignore that fact.
Right.
The Ratbirds, if they lose this game, and Baltimore is a good team, but they have kind of the inverse schedule that we do. That we've got a really tough schedule going out. They've got a really tough schedule to start. They could legitimately start 0-5.
Wow.
Who do they have after Dallas?
Hold on. I was trying to pull it up here. So after Dallas, so they're at Dallas.
Yep.
Then they've got Buffalo at home, and then they're at Cincinnati.
Okay.
So
Cincinnati just kind of has their number.
Yes.
Yeah, especially on the road.
I don't get it. They just kind of have their number. They match up really well with them, and
yeah.
Well, it's like Baltimore can play Kansas City tough, and we play Baltimore tough, if not beat them, but yet when we play Kansas City, we get torched. So,
Well, I mean, yeah, that's true. I mean, what are we? We're 7-1 in the last 8 versus the Ravens.
Yeah.
I mean, right. So yeah, I tend to think Washington's not nearly as talented as Dallas, so I'll say Baltimore probably going to.
I'm still going the Bengals.
Yeah, well, that would be fine.
And I just have this weird kind of feeling about that team this year, and really it just has to do with Burrow's wrist more than anything else. I don't think he's 100% healthy.
I don't either.
Their defense, especially up the middle, sucks. And so if you can run the ball and you can defend against Burrow's less than 100% wrist, you give yourself a pretty good chance.
I think Jamar Chase is not 100% himself, perhaps mentally. The contract stuff.
Yeah.
T. Higgins, obviously.
T. Higgins is definitely not playing, so there's that.
Right. I mean, now the Gesicki's done a nice job at tight end, but there's really nothing right now that scares me.
Both would be glorious.
Yes. Absolutely. Especially
glorious.
If we pull one off and have a 3-game lead, 3 games into the season.
And on top of that, let's just say hypothetically that the Browns lose. On top of it, the cherry on the weekend. Who are they playing?
They have the Giants.
Yeah,
the New York Football Giants.
Forget that. That's not happening.
If they lose to the Giants,
the Browns will
Cleveland
win.
Will burn.
The Browns will win that game. They're hosting the Giants, who are fucking terrible, and the Browns still have a really good defense. So
yes, you can't. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's not happening.
Yeah. Right. Anything else before we depart for the evening, gentlemen?
Just that Ryan has really poor priorities, and
he does because family vacations.
Because of that. Important. You will not be getting Casey Kasem tonight because Ryan does not love you, audience.
That's right. He doesn't. I mean, at the very least, he could have pre-recorded something.
If he did, he would have pre-recorded Casey Kasem.
That's right.
And sent it to Mark, and Mark could have just edited it in.
Yep. Could have spliced it in right now.
He doesn't love you guys. So he didn't.
No.
Because he's an asshole.
We fully expect that when he returns next week that you will give him all the shit that he deserves. Yes, that's right, Bozic. Now here's a guy that just doesn't love you. Yeah. Anyway, thank you to everyone who is here with us every single week. You guys,
thank you guys so much for
fantastic.
We appreciate the interaction so fucking much.
We do.
Honestly, we just do this for fun, and you guys make it even more fun.
Yep.
Thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Check out the website, steelcityblitz.com. Check out Ian's coverage of Western Pennsylvania high school football. Yeah, that's right. Whippeal action. He's got tons of stuff going on there. And
fuck you, Aaron.
Aaron's lippy tonight. Anyway, have a great weekend, everybody. Enjoy the 1:00 game coming up on Sunday in Pittsburgh. It's the home opener. So go Steelers.
Ravens suck. Clearly.
Can't believe they blew that game to the Raiders. That was hilarious.